You're watching Force 13's live streaming service.
Hello and welcome to Force 13 Live. This is coverage on Major Hurricane Erick. Looks like my bottom bar has failed there. I gotta tell you that obviously with the recon plane finding pressure lower than what is currently stated there as well, we'll be putting it to 952 as soon as we get that little thing updated. Of course, this is a very powerful Category 3 hurricane approaching the coast of Oaxaca in Mexico this evening. A lot to talk about with this storm. Extremely strong. It's been rapidly intensifying all day. Has been doing so for quite a while. We saw the beginning of that rapid intensification phase last night on the Tropical Weather Bulletin stream. And here we are once again 24 hours later to find that the storm has intensified pretty much as people have been expecting, or were expecting at that point last night. My name is Nathan Foy here in the studio once again with our latest Tropical Weather Bulletin, and I'm joined in the studio by a few of our team members. We have Jose and Christian with us right now, and we're also got a little thing going on down there as well. We have because there's no real webcams in the area, we thought we'd put up like a simulation of what things might look like down there right now in San Agustin, which is very close to the storm center, and it's playing some atmospheric kind of stuff, rainfall sounds in the background, kind of thing you would expect to see in the storm, but it is only simulated, unfortunately. What is real, though, is what is on the middle of your screen, which is the satellite imagery of the storm as it's been progressing towards the northwest. And hasn't it been looking good throughout the course of today, with the eye really appearing quite firmly, looking very impressive indeed. Cloud tops extending well into the minus 70s, at times into the minus 80s. Let's get some more satellite imagery and take a look through a few of our imageries here that we can look at live right now. This is some from the Force 13 website, showing you some late visibles there on the true color imagery, and it's just churning and pretty steady, resolute course there northwestwards towards the coast. And the miles and kilometers are ticking down up until its eventual landfall point. When will it be? It will probably be in the morning hours of tomorrow. And where will it be? Well, that is a question mark right now. Just to get a quick distance estimate for everyone here. It is currently 91 kilometers south, just west of south from Puerto Angel, and it is 119 kilometers south-southeast from Puerto Escondido. And then bigger population centers, of course, not that many large population centers along the coast there until you get to Acapulco, which is further along towards the west there, 408 kilometers away. Let's take a look at some more imagery. Here's side by side, actually. You can take a look at the RGB there on the right hand side and the ZER imagery there on the left, infrared, and really beautiful complexion on this storm, with a really chunky northern band right now as well, which is obviously going to be scooting inland pretty much right now. So you're looking at quite a few areas along the coast with going to be receiving very heavy rainfall at this point, and dangerous wind conditions. I was reading earlier, I can't remember what exactly it said, guys, but the storm surge they're expecting, was it something like 8 feet?
I'll take a look right now. I did
Maybe
check
more.
earlier, but I feel like it might be more than 8 feet.
It may well be. So, just to get everyone up to speed here, the latest National Hurricane Center advisory now going with 120 miles per hour and a pressure of 953. I think that's a little high. We put it to 952 based on what we saw on Recon, because they got 954 drops on not long ago at all, but still with over 10 knots of wind. So I would suggest knocking it down another 2 millibars. It's only 1 millibar here and there. It's not going to be a massive point of debate, but that's what we've gone with for this advisory in any case. Just checking from the NHC forecast. Well, they're expecting up to maximum totals of 16 inches of rainfall potentially. And along with that, oh, let's show the cone here right now. This was the 3 p.m. cone, and we should have, there's the 6 p.m. intermediate advisory cone. What you will notice there, those who have the eye for it, you would know here that the storm has shifted just a little bit east of that old forecast, which is why it sort of looks like it pivots west a little bit just before it gets to that first M point. But that's because they don't update the cone at the intermediate advisory. So if it keeps going the way it's going, it's probably going to miss, or be on the very eastern edge of the cone when it gets to that M, or just before that at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. And at that point, they'll update the cone, and if it's still east, then obviously the whole cone will end up shifting east. So we're talking about potential landfall locations. If it did follow the cone exactly, I would say that landfall will be somewhere close to, trying to get some locations here, Corolero perhaps, but as it is right now, it may end up being a bit further east, which could take landfall to somewhere like, trying to get some locations here, still going to be west of, well to the west of Puerto Escondido, but Chacahua, I think the area is called, with several lagoons in that area for a potential landfall. That would be my tip right now. So up to 16 inches of rainfall across the Mexican states of Oaxaca and Guerrero, which is the province to the west. Widespread 8 to 12 inches. This rainfall will lead to life-threatening flooding and mudslides, especially in areas of steep terrain. In fact, there's a rainfall chart as well. There it is. This was a rainfall chart from earlier, and look at that. Potentially up to 16 inches very close to the coast. Rainfall totals of 2 to 4 inches with maximum totals of 6 expected across the Mexican states of Chiapas, Michoacan, Colima and Jalisco. But storm surge, they don't give a figure, but I'm sure the Mexican authorities were saying something like 8 feet earlier on today, and that may have changed, may have been revised upwards. But nonetheless, it's going to be carrying quite a potent storm surge. Wide shot of the Eastern Pacific right now, and of course on our Tropical Weather Bulletin branded streams, we do take a look at everything else that's going on in the tropics, but I've got to tell you, compared to Erick, very little going on in the tropics at all. Just a few areas of interest, all with low chances of development. One that's entering the Central Pacific now, that we're giving a 20% chance. It might just be that, I think it's just off shot to the very left of the screen. Then we've got another potential Eastern Pacific system next week that might be in the Gulf of Tehuantepec area or somewhere different maybe. Could be yet another system to watch. And then we've got still that system in the southwest Indian Ocean, which was designated as an invest earlier, and they incorrectly called it 97P, when P means Pacific, when in fact it was in the Indian Ocean. I don't know how they managed to do that. They've corrected it since. Very low chances on that one, however. So the focus really is going to be very much on Erick tonight, as you would expect, as it should be. Let me just try and get another satellite image here. Here's the very latest, and we can take a real close-up look now at this particular imagery. This is how the eye has been developing throughout today on the infrared imagery, and there's the latest picture. A little bit of a glitch there, but there's the latest picture there showing very powerful looking storm. Let's first talk to, we've not spoken to anyone yet, let's talk to Jose. Your thoughts on the storm's intensity right now, and that was very, okay, yeah, over to Jose, your thoughts on the storm's intensity right now. Did it go as expected for you, do you think?
Well, for starters, to be honest, I feel like, earlier yesterday, when we were, did our first coverage on Erick, most of the models, they were like switching between back and forth from Cat 3 to Cat 2, but you know, in my mind, I felt like Erick could reach this kind of intensity later on tomorrow, which is today. And then, you know, when I look back on satellite, it changed like so fast. It's like, it's very like, I don't know how to put it in words, but it's just extremely crazy how storms like these, we don't really understand how rapid intensification works, because it comes in like very fast without us knowing it. Seeing how Erick has done it is just surprising.
Well, of course there were warning signs, especially as the storm got stronger. Last night really would have been the point where I think a lot of us were thinking it would get to a substantial hurricane status. I'm going to speak to people in the order that they joined us tonight. I know a few other people here now. Christian, welcome aboard. What are your thoughts on Erick right now? And you've been tracking it as well.
I have been, yes. Well, yeah, I mean, I did sort of expect it to do this, rather reluctantly, of course. But that's the thing with Eastern Pacific storms. You really never know what to expect. I'm sure that's probably one of the reasons why Ethan loves this basin so much. But yeah, again, this is what I expected. We've been seeing this on the models for quite some time now, but it has been going a little bit more higher than forecast, basically, so to speak.
Potentially, I mean, it depends what we're comparing it to. Of course, some models were off the deep end early on. Let's talk to Maury. I'm leaving Ethan till last. He joined latest, but Maury, anything that you'd like to mention that we've not yet mentioned here?
Yeah, so I think the storm is definitely notable for being like many people are saying this is going to be like it's going to break many records, like the easternmost landfall in Mexico, the strongest landfall in Mexico in June. I also want to point out, like, this storm is growing at like an exponentially fast rate. Like, its rapid intensification is fairly quick. Like, it's not necessarily like among the ranks of the highest, but like it really goes to show like how fast storms are deepening these days, and it really goes to show like how quickly this storm is intensifying, similar to like Eastern Pacific storms we've seen more recently, like probably John last year, and many more.
Well, I mean, quite alien for the time of year, I suppose. Well, they do happen in June, only that they tend to stay at sea.
Yeah.
Ethan, what's your take on... Oh.
I was just going to say that I think maybe the reason why it's staying so far east, of course, it's the sea surface temperatures, but also because I think there's a lot of those like lows that are heading into the west, like the central Pacific area. I'm not sure if that's correct, but
Possibly.
I think,
it's picked some of the best spots for the sea surface temperatures, though, that's for sure. Ethan,
Yeah,
are you with
yeah.
us right now? I know you've been having local
Yes, I am.
difficulties tonight.
Yes, I am. I do apologize for my mic quality and whatnot, and the unprofessionalism on my behalf. I do apologize.
Not at all, you sound fine.
As earlier today, Indianapolis was hit with a pretty bad QLCS, quasi-linear convective system line. The city had reports of wind gusts in excess of 100 miles per hour today. Just about maybe 3 hours ago, the system hit, and I'm unfortunately without power right now. But I am here. I am fine. We have no damage here. But of course, Eric is the main story for tonight's stream. I've done some research off air after my stream that I hosted last night.
Yeah.
And this, if Eric does go on to make landfall as a major hurricane, this will be the earliest major hurricane to make landfall in Mexico, and it will beat the previous record holder by, get this, 3 months. I'm not kidding.
Mm-hmm.
The earliest major hurricane landfall in Mexico, as it stands right now, is Kiko in 1989.
Really?
And that was in mid to late August. So here we are in June.
Yeah.
With of course Hurricane Erick.
It is indeed very unusual for this kind of track and intensity at this time of year.
Now, it must be said that this province that it's coming into, I think it's a Oaxaca province, I believe, right? Am I saying that correctly?
Oaxaca.
Yeah. So, Oaxaca province. It is not the strongest storm to hit this province. Of course, didn't Otis hit this province last year, I believe?
No, that was Guerrero.
There's a little bit more to the west.
Yeah. But Pauline is the record holder for that. And the current forecast track for Eric actually has the landfall locations a little bit to the west of where Pauline made landfall. So Pauline would still hold the record for the easternmost major hurricane landfall for the Eastern Pacific. But don't get me wrong, this notability for this early on in the season, this is a complete outlier. That is the record holder for this storm very early on in the season. We've never had a major hurricane this east and this early on in the season. Never happened before. We've had hurricanes this far east this early on in the season, sure, but they've never been this intense.
I'm just trying to construct a timeline here. Recon on the earlier mission got 973 at about 5:05 p.m. UTC, and now they got 954 at 11:24 UTC, so that's 4 hours.
And of course, I did some.
So pretty much 20 millibar drop in
extrapolation.
4 hours. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, you're fine. I did some research I did some extrapolating earlier on from the previous recon flight that we had beforehand, before the one that we have in the storm right now, and that had a 6 millibar drop in 2 hours. So 3 millibar drop in an hour, basically what they were observing. Extrapolated pressure, of course, but it's a rough estimate of how fast the pressure was dropping. And back then, I estimated that because it was around 972 millibars about 6 hours ago, around there. So, and I estimated that if it was to keep that 3 millibar drop an hour, that it would be around 951 millibars right about now. And here we are at 952.
Yeah, I can't math anyway. It's 6 hours, not 4 hours.
No.
So,
yeah,
20 divided by 6 is, I'm blank now, just over 3 millibars an hour there, Ethan.
Yeah, I mean that's. I mean, I don't mean for my drop calculator thingy that I calculated to be correct, but I mean, if it keeps going on this pace, by 6Z, if it keeps dropping at 3 millibars an hour, I guarantee you it won't. But by 6Z, we could have a pressure in the low 930s, Nathan.
Could be. It's going to be very interesting to watch the next recon pass. Whether we can try and look for any signs of the storm peaking, because it is more likely than not, especially when you take a look at this angle of attack now, it is not going into Mexico at a right angle. It is going to be following the coast to an extent. What that means is that the storm is more than likely going to start weakening before landfall, but it's only going to start weakening at that point, and it's still going to carry a lot of strength when it does make landfall. Probably still a major when it does so. No guarantee that it will, but it probably will, and that is obviously going to be a big deal. But if
aren't some effects on land already experiencing tropical storm force conditions?
Oh, I would say so. You look at the big, massive belt of red there on the screen on that northern band. Probably tropical storm force winds in there. There's a comment just then that says it definitely looks like it's weakening. It isn't weakening at the minute. I think it may still be strengthening, actually. Recon certainly confirms that.
There a recon mission in there now?
Yeah, they did a pass just before the hour, because they're so good at their timing to get the pass done just before the NHC update. It's great. And they'll be in for another pass in, I don't know how long it'll take them, maybe another half an hour?
According to Tim, sorry, it says recon data outage.
There's an outage.
According to Tim, behind the scenes.
Might be right, actually. It's been a little while since we got data. With that in mind, they'll, assuming that we get the data at all, their next pass, it'll be during this hour, we'll get more, well, if the data comes out, we'll get more data before the end of the hour, so stay tuned and we'll see what we can find out.
Now, I don't know if you're going to be getting that other pass by the end of this hour, Nathan. I think it might be a little bit afterwards.
You think?
I do think it might be a little bit afterwards.
Well, they'd already gone through and probably about to make their turn to the south 40 minutes ago now.
Let me check flight radar. It might be on flight radar.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ethan's very inventive with his sources.
No, I don't see anything.
What I find this year so strange, it feels like what is that word called? Like when you have a dream and it comes like in real life. Like, yeah, I forget what that means. But just like this year, June right now, we're almost into 1 year of Hurricane Beryl when it first became the first major hurricane ever in the month of June, and then seeing it repeating again in the month of June, but in the Eastern Pacific. It's just so like it's so weird. Like, I was thinking about this earlier and I just got like chills, like seeing like it kind of like replaying again that same day, with seeing Beryl first becoming a tropical storm, then to a hurricane, and all of a sudden to a massive, strong Category 4, then becoming a Category 5 later. It's very. I'm not saying.
Eric we don't have to relive the whole tracker Beryl, but I
get
the point. I mean,
it's.
And it also is a reminder here about how rare the upper echelon impact storms are in June. We have our TCO scale, which determines our operations here, and it goes from blue to yellow to orange to red. Red obviously being for the worst storms in terms of potential impacts.
Speaking of, we are still
Erick is still orange, very near the top of orange. But,
yeah, but
just to tell you how rare, I'll tell you why in a sec. But just how rare code reds are in June. Last one was obviously Beryl, which just about did it on the 30th of June, and before that it was 1993. I think it was Typhoon Corin.
That I'm trying to 1993. That is, geez, what 32 years ago?
Yeah, so it's just how rare the most impactful storms are in June. Just to give you a little measuring stick there.
Well, with that being said, you were saying, I think it was yesterday, that the storm would have to get 220 miles per hour for it to be a code red. So dare I say that we are a red right now?
Well, what's happened is that there's been a bit of a downtrend in the rainfall expectations, possibly because it's already starting the event, and we calculate future rainfall, not what's already happened, which it could be a potential flaw in the system, maybe. That is the only real reason why it is not code red at this time.
Right.
But we are expecting...
So technically, you could go back and do like a quote-unquote tropical cyclone report on it and say that it was a code red event.
It may well be.
That's one way to look at it.
But it will anyway when it gets closer to landfall if it holds its strength.
Yep.
And it's not a perfect system. There's 2 points right there that could be considered. One, it only measures future rainfall, not storm total rainfall. Which storm total rainfall looks like it could be 16 inches. NHC said that on their advisory. But also, another thing that's been contemplated but we haven't ever included yet is storm surge potential.
Yes.
That's not included in that system either. And did you clock what they said earlier, Ethan, about how much storm surge they're expecting? Did I read 8 feet?
I don't know. I wasn't looking. I apologize.
It was posted somewhere from our team chat that the Mexican authorities gave some numbers to expect.
How far up do I need to scroll for that?
Maybe 3 hours or so. I don't know.
So 10 p.m. at least.
For the time being, though, we're obviously watching the storm very closely. In situations like these where we don't really have many views from the ground and not much information either, it is a relatively sparsely populated area. Not fully, obviously, but there's about 300,000 people.
I think I found it. Yeah.
Near the direct line of the storm. Yeah, just hold on that for a sec. So, in fact, I just lost my train of thought, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'm seeing here it says 6 to 8 feet expected off the coast of Oaxaca.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So,
I remember what I was alluding to. Just if anyone's got any comments or questions, feel free to start your message with Full City and all in text on our YouTube chat right now, and we could field questions live. Some very interesting comments going in right there. But feel free to attract our attention. But the latest news, if you've just joined us, is that Erick officially became a major hurricane not very long ago from the latest National Hurricane Center advisory, which was at the top of the hour that we just went by, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. National Hurricane Center upgrading the storm to 120 mile per hour category 3 with a pressure, their estimate 953. We went one lower at 952. And the storm is continuing to intensify. Hurricane warning in effect. We haven't read out the warnings, although they're pretty clear cut. Let's just go over them here. Hurricane warning for Acapulco to Greta Angel. Hurricane watch for west of Acapulco to Tecpan de Galeana and a tropical storm warning for east of Preda Angel to Salina Cruz and from west of Acapulco to Tecpan de Galeana. They reckon that the storm is moving northwest at 9 miles per hour. They're expecting a bit of an increase in forward speed. And it is currently being investigated by the hurricane hunters, so we're waiting on more news on that, but we do have a bit of an outage in data at the minute. Ethan, any news on that?
I haven't seen anything. Of course, I'm very, very limited on my data gathering abilities.
Okay.
I hate not having power.
Yeah, you feel
Yeah,
powerless,
we all
don't
do.
you?
Stop it.
I mean, he saw the opportunity, he had to take it, so...
I see many opportunities and take those opportunities, and yeah, I get slammed for them.
Look how symmetric that's looking on this latest image.
It looks very good.
It's really impressive looking there.
Oh wow.
Damn. He's impressive.
Let me see if we do have a recon update. Let me see if we...
Yeah, that eye is
Ooh, we don't.
Yeah, that eye is nearly void of clouds.
Just need to try and find where my visible's gone. I can no longer find them. Okay, here we go, because we're going to be losing visible imagery shortly. Here is some, yeah, so you can see that little cut-off approaching on the right-hand side. That's the impending nightfall. And it's obviously such a slanted angle because we're very close to the solstice right now, so the sun is sort of that way up. I was pointing the wrong way when I do that. But there you can see the latest imagery just before sunset right now. The eye may be looking a bit better again. Looks like there's a lone hot tower there on the eastern side that's just started up in the last few minutes. Did someone want to speak?
No.
Oh, I thought I heard someone wanting to speak. Let's get some comments and questions then live right now. Pixel Kingdom says, do you think Erick will be a Category 4? Well, I'll tell you one thing. It has looked like a Category 4. If we only had satellite imagery, folks, this would have been a Cat 4 for several hours by now.
Wait, we don't have satellite imagery? I just want to know.
No,
we do.
I'm
It's
saying
just
if we didn't have recon to actually tell us more directly how strong the storm was, and surprised us a little bit, I think, that it was lower, much lower than what the satellite is suggesting. Satellite alone, that is a clear-cut Category 4.
Yeah. Okay.
But we've got to follow the recon observations because they're more direct. Satellite can only tell us so much, and the way we estimate satellites, we use methods that are only as good as the law of averages, and obviously we have exceptions on either side of that, which is why this is only, in inverted commas, a Category 3 rather than a 4 at the moment, but still with that pressure decreasing and recon possibly finding stronger winds in the next pass. We'll wait and see. We could see it get to Category 4 soon. How big is the hurricane now? We're talking actual size. Well, if we take a look at the whole of the hurricane's influence from north to south, I would say somewhere in the region of 1,500 kilometers, which is just over 900 miles. Or if we're taking a look at the central dense overcast region, the area that surrounds the eye, approximately 280 kilometers, which is around 180 miles or so. So those are the kind of distances we're looking at, and the eye itself, I would estimate somewhere around 30 kilometers, about 19 miles wide. Supernova 22 says, can a hurricane go through an Eyewall replacement cycle and still strengthen at the same time? Some of them may have done that. Quite rare. Quite rare.
There's one primary example
Yep.
that I can think of, Nathan.
Yep.
I'm sure that you're probably thinking of the same storm.
Which one is it?
2018,
Oh, gee. Which one did it now?
Western Pacific.
During the Eyewall replacement cycle. I'm trying to think which one did it.
Yeah.
Not you two, was it?
No,
Mankut?
it's Trammy.
Trammy. Time to board the Trammy. One of the other
Wow.
Cat 5s
Yes,
that year.
it's the storm. Yeah, it was right before its Category 5 peak. If you have a look at it, if anyone's here and they haven't seen it on satellite, have a look at satellite imagery of Trammy's Eyewall replacement cycle. It is incredible how efficient it is and how picturesque it is. It is incredible.
And you'd probably say it's more likely to happen with smaller cores because they've... You know, I think it's actually pertinent to do a sort of vehicle comparison here because these small structured cores, you know, they're like these fast sports cars and they can ramp up much more quickly and slow down much more quickly as well. And then you've got the much bigger storms, which, you know, are like the large vehicles and take much longer to get stronger, but they still can, of course. Yeah, the top speed is where the analogy goes away. But nonetheless, we're just about to lose light over Erick there, looking at this latest imagery. So enjoy these last few visibles. I'm not really going to enjoy, but this is a major hurricane, the first of the Northern Hemisphere, right?
Yep.
The first major hurricane of the Northern Hemisphere in 2025, and I think...
Unless you somehow think that Barbara was one.
Yeah, I think a few of us may have thought that the first major might have happened earlier. But right now...
And in the Eastern Pacific, no less.
Yeah, but they do happen quite often. But Eastern Pacific 5, Atlantic 0 right now, and Westpac 1. The Eastern Pacific has been really putting the other basins to shame.
I mean, like,
As it should be.
I mean, this is gonna sound really absurd, but like this Eastern Pacific season has been really Spanish Inquisition, like, you know, kind of unexpected.
Okay, Christian.
Look, I know I said it sounded absurd, all right, but you know it's been unexpected. Like, you know, 5 to 0 to 1 to 1. Yeah.
Like I alluded to last night, all this activity means little to nothing for the actual season. The rest of the Eastern Pacific season, after all of these favorable conditions and whatnot that we're seeing right now, after all these are done and over with and leaving the area, the Eastern Pacific Basin as a whole should die. It's going to be active. It's going to be probably a little bit quiet for a little bit. Not saying that's going to happen soon, because of course we've got more areas of interest behind Erick.
Yep.
But eventually you'll see the Eastern Pacific have probably a quiet period.
I was just looking at some more comments as well. Ethan, do you think we are seeing the beginning of an Eyewall replacement cycle? I'm not convinced yet.
It's already gone under one.
Today?
Yes.
I must have been asleep when that happened.
It was about 6 hours ago.
Then I probably wasn't paying attention. But
It was very quick.
yeah. It has been cycling a bit today, hasn't it?
It might be in the midst of one too. We're not entirely sure on that.
6 hours ago, I was in a meeting.
Yeah, unfortunately we don't really
Stuff.
have radar to help with that. Unless you're aware of any that I don't have here.
We don't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think there's a radar outage in the area.
Oh, grand.
I don't know if they
outage.
It's a radar outage. What other outages can there be?
Yeah, I'm just pretty sure it's a radar outage because I looked on a website and like there was like a hole in like the radar site.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Alright, let's just do another recap then of the current situation, and then it is 22, so we're going to take a look at the worldwide models after this. But for now, let's take a look at the latest National Hurricane Center forecast cone that you're currently looking at on the screen. And expected to make that major hurricane landfall in the much later part of the night into the early hours of the morning. Comments about the cone, Ethan, the forecast, if any?
125 miles per hour is still too low.
125.
Was
I
that
think
the
that's still
forecast?
too low. That's the
Jeez.
current forecast.
I don't know. It's a tough one because it could weaken a little before that landfall,
It could. It could.
and that would mean that peak will be either just before or at that M point. Then, of course, it moves inland, weakens really quickly, gone by Friday. Not even that. Like 12 a.m. Friday there. Oh, that is local time. So yeah, tonight for the landfall. Well, what time do you reckon for landfall there, Ethan?
I don't really know, to be honest, because it seems to have gone a little bit east of the forecast cone in the latest images.
Well, it certainly has compared to the 3 p.m. cone. It's riding the eastern periphery of that cone now. It's another view of those final visibles on true color imagery. This imagery makes it look like it's moving much further north than the other ones that we've been showing. But I think that might just be a trick of the imagery there, because it's doing a follow me of the storm center there. Okay,
Let's just look on
we've
WSP3.
well, I can't get the animated on there anymore. I need to go and get a fix for that. But what we can show you now is the model, or the GFS model at least, the global model for the next 16 days, what we usually look at during our tropical weather bulletins, and taking a look at what's going on around the world. As usual, GFS is pretty hopeless at initializing strong storms due to its poor resolution. It's initialized Erick at 18Z, albeit. This is the 18Z run, isn't it? Yep. Initializes it at 85 miles per hour, which at 18Z it was much stronger than that. But follow the track. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Ethan,
Wait, what?
there's hardly anything
Can't see.
left of it by the time it makes landfall, according to GFS, which is not going to happen.
Jeez.
It just
I
completely
think
shrivels up and
it
shrinks.
just-
Oh my god. Well, that would be a best case scenario for everyone there, but I unfortunately have got to tell you that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and that
Dream.
like that thinks it's going to remain at like 85 miles per hour, and that's peak intensity. So.
And what was that? That was pretty much immediate weakening. So
Yeah,
that's not happening.
That's not happening, unfortunately.
And then
we all
I
wish it
also
was.
noted there's a little thing here that tries to develop now as well. Haven't marked it yet, but this little feature, GFS briefly gives it a circulation there. One or two other models are also slightly on board with that, but we haven't marked it. In the later part of the run, I think we will see, yes, there's a brief tropical storm there. Look how far east that one is. That's south of El Salvador. Moving westwards and doesn't really make it to land. If it did, it would be on the Mexican border. And in the very later part of the model now, 30th of June, another large system now forming up here. Obviously, very long way out. Tropical storm peak. So definitely don't take that for granted that it's going to happen, but potentially a few more storms down the way. Let's look at the Atlantic, the poor old Atlantic. And I gotta tell you, well, that might be something's trying to spin up there in the Gulf at the very end. But this is the very end of the model run. This is July 3rd. And the best Atlantic fans can hope for there is a July 3rd system that briefly becomes a TS just before landfall, just short of the Texas border in Mexico.
It's like Bertha.
And then
back
moving
in
inland.
2020.
So that would be just before landfall if that happened, but that's way out, not even worth looking at a second thought, to be honest. US severe weather up there, a couple of tornado warnings active right now. But really struggling Atlantic, right? At least at the moment. I think this is the 20% that we've marked. Let's just take a look at satellite if we can. Can we get a satellite on this? Fingers crossed. Full disc imagery. I don't think it's playing ball. Oh, yes it is. Yes, that is the system that we've marked. You can see it there right now. Convection bubbling up. 20% we've given that of maybe being a surprise spin-up tropical cyclone, and you can just about detect it on the model. What happens to it? Nothing, according to that, so there it goes. That is in the Central Pacific now. Westpac, there is a large but relatively weak tropical storm there, just east of Ogasawara, and that's not too long away. That's on the 22nd, which is that Sunday? And it's moving north, and then northeast dies off pretty quick. Oh, look at the size of that. Enormous typhoon at the end of the run there. That is very, very unlikely, but that is as large as the Philippines. But is well away from anything. I mean, to be honest, I would love to see something that looks like that, because it's huge and away from land.
About the cat.
Oh, there's a cat?
Yeah.
What?
But that is at the very end of the run. If that,
That's Leo.
That's the Western Pacific, so not much to hope for there. 2 storms at best in 16 days. North Indian Ocean, there is a system that tries to get curled in there out of that monsoonal mess. Don't think it manages. And then model support has gone off to an extent, this little system here in the southern Indian Ocean.
97p. S
97S now. Don't look like that's going to happen.
No,
and then
good.
just a little feature here as well. It won't be tropical, but could be a bit of a bomb cyclone just north of New Zealand there, moving southeastwards in the next few days. And after that, very little in the South Pacific. Obviously, Southern Hemisphere shouldn't be getting anything now. South Atlantic the same. Mediterranean just in case, probably not. Europe's having a big heat wave in the next week or two.
How are those trade winds in the Arabian Sea?
Oh, you wanted to look at them again? They're fine. They're going to stay for a while. So that is your model roundup there, and really not that much to look at after Erick, but obviously Erick is a massive deal right now. This is a strong Category 3 storm here on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. 120 mile per hour winds sustained. Have we managed to shake anything out of Recon just now?
Not a whisper, unfortunately.
Not a whisper. That's unfortunate. At least we got info from one pass, but obviously they'll have gone into the all-important northeastern quadrant in their most recent pass. But we don't have any news, sadly. Those final visibles, and the sun is literally setting over the eye of the storm right now. That's the latest view of it there. Pretty cool imagery. And there's the water vapor view of the storm approaching the coast. Let's see if we can just give you a position update. Do my best to get
Pardon
this.
me.
That's alright. Feel free to voice any of your own opinions right now, guys, whilst I just get some distance estimates here.
I mean, I feel like the storm is like I think what I'm noticing on satellite imagery is that like it is becoming symmetrical, and also there could be a lot of rainfall right now in the Puerto Escondido region. I do think that region could be getting a lot of rainfall right now. So just make sure to like stay safe out there, obviously. And also I'm noticing that I'm not really seeing any new convective bursts at the moment, but I don't think that's...
You're right.
Yeah, there hasn't been much convective bursts so far.
The eye is shrinking a little in this imagery. The structure still looks amazing. Convection waning a little bit. Land interaction is going to cause a problem soon. I do think this storm is near its peak now.
I'm wondering, would this be an Eyewall replacement cycle?
Could be the beginning of one. It is starting to get that look. If the eye starts to disappear, well, it looks like it might already be starting to disappear. If it does more of that, then I think that's a pretty strong indication of an Eyewall replacement cycle. Just looking at the recon data as well, that is also indicating an Eyewall replacement cycle because there are multiple peaks in the wind speed. In fact, let's get this on the screen. Should have looked at this earlier, actually. But just to show you this, if I can. There it is. Look at the top left panel there, the blue line being the flight level wind. Usually when a storm is not having an Eyewall replacement cycle, you will see very distinct peaks on either side of that massive trough there, which is the eye.
Vivian, how old is that?
This
like,
was that
how
first
old is that
pass
top?
from an hour ago.
Yeah, that was an hour ago. Things could have changed between then and now.
Well, it won't have finished an Eyewall replacement cycle in that time, but look at that.
Nope.
Two really peaks there. So definitely an Eyewall replacement cycle indicator. We were wondering to ourselves where that was happening earlier, but we did already have that data, we just hadn't looked at it. So Eyewall replacement cycle is what's happening here. Position estimate now, 68 kilometers from Mazunte. That's the closest point of land, pretty much. Also 68 from Escobilla. 88 from Puerto Escondido right now, and getting closer, almost making a beeline. It is 378 kilometers from Acapulco.
I did notice that there is one convective burst, like on the eastern side. I think that's from like an hour ago, though. Like it's just intensifying at the moment, so there's no new.
That hot tower.
Yeah, that hot tower.
That is still there, yeah. So who knows if that keeps itself going. Let's see if we can get some more comments right now. Start your message with Force 13. We're nearly finished with this hour update. Do we predict a Category 4 based on the continued rapid... I mean, I would say hold your horses on that, potentially. There are signs that it may have stopped intensifying, but we're going to have to wait for more info, and the next recon pass will still be telling to see if that massive pressure deepening is still going on. Let's keep watching that. So, will it get to Category 4? That's what everyone's saying in the comments, or were. That is a question mark. I still think it could, but whether it actually does now, we'll have to see. Further it stays away from land, the more chance it will have. Seeing if there's any other comments here. Not many, actually. So hopefully we've satisfied everyone there. I don't know if anyone who hasn't spoken very much at this point would like to say anything just before we start wrapping things up. Well, we've not looked at any other models actually. I don't know if anyone wants to share those.
I would if I had power.
You would if you had power. Jose, are you there? You've got a screen. Well, Maury, you do too.
Yeah, I can do it.
Let's take a look at some of those Hurricane models.
Okay. Alright, so we have the HWRF. That's a little bit of a preview. Yeah, so you can see, let me measure these winds. I don't know how to do that actually on this website, but you can see it's around 115 knots, maybe towards 120 knots, so low end Cat 4, high end Cat 3. About where it's at now, but then it of course weakens as it approaches land, probably making landfall at like 85 knots, so category 1 or 2 from that
That's
model
93
run.
there.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so that would be definitely category 2. And then it of course weakens immediately after that.
Go to the first, just go to the first frame on that again. The initialization.
18Z or 21Z.
Okay, there. Wait, go back to 18. So, oh wow, look at that! It's initialized. The HWF initialized the storm at 152 miles an hour.
Oh yeah, I see
Jesus.
the max wind. Yeah, but that's strange how it weakens so much before landfall.
It is. All right, let's
I don't
take a
know.
look at another one then.
Alright. HMON. It's a very large storm
Not
from the
much larger than
HMON.
Field.
Well, yeah. Let me see what. So this is 21Z. It also initializes at 150 miles per hour. I don't know.
Oh, that is wild!
Oh.
It initialized at 969 millibars and 152 miles an hour. That is just
Yeah,
not
I don't
right.
understand. I think there's like a glitch going on or something. I don't understand. It doesn't
That's
weaken
fair.
as much before landfall, like in terms of pressure. Well,
Still
it
a lot
does
of
it about
weakening.
the
That's a
same.
Cat 1 there at landfall.
Yeah, I don't know. This is really.
Oh, that's the
confusing.
850 millibar height though. That's not surface.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
That's why.
That's why.
Yeah. Okay. Is this better? Yeah.
That's the
this
same
is
one.
better. Oh.
Same, yeah.
Yeah. no.
Maury's getting used to the model runs here. The bottom one you want, Maury? The bottom one.
Yeah, that one. MSLP,
Okay,
that's what we
okay.
want.
That's
Alright,
better.
104 knots. So that's
There
the
you go.
category.
That's why it was saying 150 miles an hour. It was at the upper levels, which it may well be.
Yeah.
Still, though,
But
the point remains there that massive weakening before landfall on those hurricane models.
Yeah, over here it's barely a hurricane as it makes landfall. But anyways, we'll go back
So
to
I
the
find that quite
HWRF.
hard to believe.
Yeah, we'll go back to the HWRF since that was my mistake there. Around 105, 110 miles per hour here.
Alright, let's just piece this together though. If you scroll through to 0Z, basically right now, they have it already down to 100 miles per hour by an hour ago. So that's wrong. That's already wrong so far.
Yeah. Okay.
So
And it's wrong.
you know that it's not going to be as weak as what they're saying at landfall. Basically, everyone, according to those models are
Unfortunately.
busted. Yeah. So I
This
would
model-
suggest at least a mid category 2 landfall here. So keep your guard up.
This model over here, HAFSA, it's a little more accurate. I think this is around 115 to 120 miles per hour.
Yep.
This is at 964 millibars. Let's
Yep.
see how. It actually doesn't weaken that much before
There you go.
landfall, so this
There you
might
go.
be a more realistic model. This
Absolutely.
is like a mid-range category 2.
High-end Cat 2
probably,
there,
yeah, probably the like maybe
very tight near the end.
yeah, very tight. It definitely condenses. And of course the HFSB. I heard that's not the like proper model run for some.
Oh, that's the wacko one there.
Yeah.
That's actually
This
weaker
one-
than the HFSA though.
Yeah, I know. And then of course we have our global models, which we already looked at.
Well, that's an interesting look. From what we get from that, not much, because most of that, in my opinion, was wrong. But what it does tell us, I suppose, really is that it's probably going to be at least a mid-range Category 2 by the time it makes landfall, and may still be stronger than that. As of right now, though, is it still strengthening? That is going to be the question. Unfortunately, we don't have any further recon data yet, and we can't really answer that. And I don't know if we're going to get that info. It's just that they stopped transmitting data. NHC probably have the data.
Someone said it's back on flight radar.
Oh, okay.
Let me take a look at flight radar then. Considering Ethan is not here at the minute. He had to go because, you know, he's still out of power.
Yeah, of course. He's got his power problems over there.
Yeah. Oh, where am I in the world right now? Last I was looking at was... Oh, that's Boston. Okay, interesting. Right.
No, not in Boston.
No, I know. It's just where flight radar loaded me into. It's probably because there was an incident there a couple of days ago. It's very slow to load at the minute. Right. Is it TEAL-75?
I assume so.
Yep, they are back on flight radar. Yep.
No, it's... oh, it might have been...
Well, it says United States Air Force, so...
Yeah, it probably is then.
Lockheed Martin C-130J, so...
Should be.
Yep, that'll be them.
So
I don't know, as of
where are
right...
they? Do you know which direction they're facing?
I'll just share my screen and make it easier for you. So... provided it wants to work properly. Because I know I've been having issues with screen share lately.
Oh, my music ended. Oh well. So there you go. Ooh, how have they ended up there? Oh, they did a west to east pass. They went through west to east. Interesting. They didn't do northeast. Oh, they might go for one now. They're going to go northeast now, and then they'll go through northeast to southwest. That's probably going to be the most interesting data that we'll get when that comes around.
Yeah, it's just interesting because where the last transmission
ages ago now, yeah,
was again about 23:43 UTC. As of right now, it's just gone 1 a.m. UTC.
Yep.
They were roughly around here. So
they did the turn. They've gone down. They went through west to east most likely, and now they're going up, probably for a northeast to southwest, assuming they've got time and fuel.
Yeah. Well, again, they're climbing actually, because it was 10,000. They're at now 11,000.
Oh, maybe they are leaving then.
Maybe they're leaving. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody said that they're leaving in the chat.
So I don't know if they even got the northeast quadrant. Obviously, there's a line there where there's no data, so...
Right, I'm leaving.
Yeah, I don't know. We are all leaving. We're about to finish the stream here.
Yeah. Rather interesting, and so is Recon. They're also leaving. So...
Everyone is leaving. So there we go. Ooh, lightning flash there on the simulated view webcam. That was our update on Hurricane Erick, primarily on our tropical weather bulletin. Category 3 right now, 120 mph winds and an estimated pressure of 952 millibars. We tried to get extra info, unfortunately not at our fingertips at the minute. If it was a massive upgrade, NHC would have done an update statement. I don't think they have, as far as I know. So that'll mean that, yeah, nothing. It won't be anything massive that's happened if they got any newer info. So we're going to leave it there. Thanks for joining us, as always, and we'll see how we do for more coverage for landfall. I don't know if it'll be a reasonable hour for us, but we'll do our best. But right now, this storm is approaching land with terrific venom, potentially 8 foot of storm surge, possibly more than that, up to 16 inches of storm total rainfall, and obviously extremely powerful winds. Eyewall replacement cycle is ongoing, and that could herald weakening quicker than expected. The storm may already be peaking. I don't want to give false hope though. It could still be intensifying. We just really don't know, but it does suggest to me that we are near peak, but it could hold a lot of this intensity up to landfall. We'll have to wait and see. Updates on our social media and our website, and you can join our Discord server for Tropical Weather Chat at any time, discord.gg/force13. That's us done for now. We'll see you again soon. Have a good night.